ask of her anything, good or bad, that I wished, and she would do it. And then I told her, awakened her and told her he promised me an waking state, trance state, and that he would have to obey her unconscious promise and her conscious promise. And I told him, I'll now put you in a trance and have you experience yourself on a jet plane traveling at 750 miles, 650 miles an hour ground speed at an elevation of 35,000 feet. Now you're on that plane. She started shuddering so violent, I hadn't see it. I told her that I was going to have the plane land, and that as the plane landed, she would feel slipping off her body all her phobias, her anxieties, demons of fear, and they would be sitting in the seat beside her. I awakened her. She mopped perspiration from her face, and then gave a sudden scream. I leaped from the chair and rushed to the far side of the room, pointing to the chair. She said, "They are there. They're there." I said, "What?" "All my phobias and fears." She was obviously afraid of the chair. I called Mrs. Erickson in and told her Mrs. Erickson to sit in that chair. The patient said, "Please don't, Mrs. Erickson." Betty disregarded her, proceeded toward the chair. The patient rushed up and physically interfered with Betty. He was going to have Betty sit in that chair. And then I told the patient, dismiss Betty, and told the patient, "You're now cured. Enjoy your trip to Dallas and back, and call me from the airport and you return to Phoenix." After she left, I had a feeling I hadn't really done complete therapy. And knowing how everybody, whether they know it or not, is superstitious as part of our culture. You don't open an umbrella inside the house. I'll cause it to rain. Don't walk under a ladder. Spill salt, you throw it over your left shoulder. You put on your underwear wrong side out. You wear it that way all day, or otherwise you'll have bad luck. I like to carry a rabbit's foot for good luck, a lucky piece, a lucky charm. So after she left, I had my youngest daughter take an overexposed picture of the chair. Then an underexposed picture of the chair, and then a properly exposed picture of the chair. And then I put each picture in a separate envelope, labeled the overexposed picture, eternal resting place of your fears, phobias, anxieties, torments, slowly descending into the darkness of eternal gloom. The picture underexposed, I said, eternal resting place of your fears, phobias, anxieties, worries, slowly dissipating into outer space. And the normally exposed picture, that envelope I labeled the eternal resting place of your phobias, fears, anxieties. I mailed them to her. She got them Wednesday morning. On Saturday, he called me from the airport, and the most brilliant voice said, "It was fantastic. It was beautiful beyond description. It was utterly wonderful." So I asked her if she minded coming to my home at 8 o'clock that night and telling her story to 4 PhD candidates that I was tutoring, and they were afraid they couldn't pass their examination. And she said she was delighted to come. And at 8 o'clock, she and her husband came in. Her husband was very amused when she skirted around that chair and took a seat as far away from it as she could. And 5 minutes later, Susan walked in. One of them tried to sit in that chair. She jumped up and said, please don't sit in that chair. She said, I've sat there before. It's a comfortable chair. And sit there again. And the patient in the most pleading way said, please don't. Susan said, I believe you mind that, my sitting in that chair. It troubles you. I'll just sit on the floor. I've sat there before. And then I asked my patient to tell the students her entire story. He told them all about her airplane program, using the same words that I used to describe it. He told them about the pictures I'd sent her on Wednesday morning, how she'd taken them along, how she found a trip there and back, a glorious experience. And then I told a patient, and now, right now, since you finished telling the story, close your eyes and go into a deep trance. I'll bet you're in a deep trance. Listen carefully. I want you to go down to the airport, buy a round-trip ticket to San Francisco. When you get to the airport, San Francisco, I want you to rent a car, drive out of the Golden Gate Bridge, park your car, walk out of the bridge, look over the railing down to the water. The bridge is supported by pylons 740 feet high. And you look down, you can see the waves, the foam on the crests, rolling in, rolling out. You'll see the seagulls. And that bridge was painted. One of the workmen that was painting the bridge had a fish net on the end of a long pole for dipping up a catch. And he would catch seagulls and paint their heads red until there were enough red-headed seagulls for an enterprising reporter to publish a news story about a new species of seagulls that were red-headed. And you watch the waves, the seagulls, and the fog will come rolling in. You watch it till the fog obscures everything, and return to your car, back to the airport, return to Phoenix, come directly here. I waken her and she says, oh, I must tell you about my trip to San Francisco. And she repeated the entire story and said, and that nasty Jake who painted seagulls' heads red, as a remark. I knew she wouldn't like that. He called it a break. And when she finished telling the story, and I came directly from the airport here, oh my goodness. I made that trip in a trance. I said, that's right. Now I've got a question to ask you. You have no fear of airplanes now, no airplane phobia. Yeah, that's right. It's very pleasurable to ride in them. I said, all right. Now what other problem did you correct when you went to Dallas? He said, I had no other problem. I said, yes, you did. He said, I didn't have. I said, there's a fear of heights. He said, no. I was never afraid of heights. I just said my airplane phobia. I don't have it now. And I said, but what other problem did you correct in Dallas? He said, I didn't have any other problem. I said, all I have to do is ask you a simple question, and you'll know your other problem that you corrected in Dallas. He said, well, I didn't have any other problem. And I asked your question. I said, what was the first thing you did when you reached Dallas? And she looked extremely surprised and, oh, that. I went to the 40-story building. I rode the elevator from the ground floor up to the top floor of that 40-story building. How did you used to ride the elevator? I used to ride from the first floor to the second floor, get off and take another elevator to the third floor, get off and take another elevator to the fourth floor. I was so used to doing that, I didn't regard it as a problem. All right, do you admit you corrected another problem that trip to Dallas? And yes, that way of using an elevator, time-consuming and ridiculous. I couldn't help myself. I was so used to it, I'd forgotten I had that problem. And all right, now what other problem did you used to have? Those two problems were the only problems I ever had. I said, no. The elevator problem was one. The airplane problem was another. What was your other problem? He said, you have to tell me because I know I didn't have another problem. I said, I can ask you a question. And when you answer, you'll know what your other problem was. As soon as I asked to guess what the other problem was, I told them they should know if they had heard the patient tell her a complete story. And I said, no, when you were traveling in a closed car or a bus, and came to a long suspension bridge, what did you do? You said, oh, that. You used to get down on the floor of the bus, I shut my eyes and shudder. I have to ask some stranger, a passenger, is the bus over the bridge? The passenger said, yes. And I could get out and sit in my seat. It's awfully embarrassing. That didn't occur in a train, did it? She said, no. This happened in a closed car or a bus. When my husband was driving the car, he stopped me before we came to the bridge. I get in the back of the car, I crouched down on the floor of the car, shut my eyes and shuddered till my husband told me we're over the bridge now. Now you've heard the story. You found out she had more than one problem. Now, the first question I'll ask you is, what was her original problem? Did she have an airplane phobia? Did she?
She had a phobia of flying. She was okay in an airplane, but when the airplane was flying, she was afraid.
That's right. Therefore, she didn't have an airplane phobia. And the flying phobia? Or what was the phobia?
Of motion?
Fear that the plane would crash.
And why the elevator?
Yeah, it's all connected.
Isn't there?
It's all connected.
Well, an elevator can crash too.
She'd never been in an elevator crash. No, I knew she didn't have an airplane phobia. Because she could board a plane, ride out to him and run away. When the plane took off, it no longer became a plane. In a closed space, the whole visible means of support. Elevator is a closed space. No visible means of support. Now, how did I know about bridge? Closed car, a bus. Are closed spaces. And a long suspension bridge. You see no visible means of support to the right, to the left, nor behind you, nor in front of you. Again, you're suspended in space. No visible means of support. When she's in a train, clicking of the wheels on the rails give her auditory proof of ground support. We didn't have her phobia on a train. Now, how did I know she had an elevator fear and a bridge fear? Because I knew she didn't have an airplane phobia. She just had a fear of closed spaces with no visible means of support. Now, next her, why did I ask her to make such an outrageous promise to me? If she boarded an airplane, she placed her very life in the hands of a total stranger. He couldn't even see, didn't know. Absolutely life-threatening. And that's a horrible thing if you're very life-threatened. And her promise to me didn't really threaten her life. Just the comfort of her life, that's all. But it paralleled the fear And he had about the pilot and the elevator operator and the bus driver, her life in the hands of a total stranger. So when I heard her tell about her airplane phobia, I was not misled by the word airplane phobia. I understood it as being a phobia for a closed space, no visual means of support. And my own experience tells me in an elevator situation is the same. And a long suspension bridge situation is the same. And when you listen to a patient, you recognize their possible meaning of their words. And then you compare them with what you know about the meaning of words. A gambler speaks about his run of luck, the cards, dice, and he means a run of luck. A fisherman speaks about the run of the fish, and politicians speak about the run of the government. You speak about a run to a girl, and she picks up her stocking. The word run has 140 meanings. Road runs uphill, downhill, stands still. A fast horse is what? A racehorse? A horse locks up in a stall. They're both fast. And the horse may be on a pass, not eating. He may be ridden by a fast woman. That is another meaning entirely. So when you listen to a patient's story, listen to their words and think of all the other meanings to the words they use. You know, my sister and I grew up on the farm. I left the farm more than 50 years ago. My sister left it more than 50 years ago. He made 3 trips around the world. And one trip she stopped in to visit me, so we hadn't seen each other for a long time. And my wife was born in the city of Detroit and grew up there. All of a sudden, my wife overheard my sister and I using an alien word, entirely alien to her. In the city, you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. On the farm, you eat breakfast, dinner, and supper. And my sister dropped in to visit me after many years of not seeing her. We were discussing various countries she'd been in, and we got around discussing their cultural customs, and the word supper came up. That was plenty of words with my sister and me. My wife heard us talking about supper. He came in and said, "Why are you talking about supper? It isn't dinner time yet." I told her, "We too are farm kids, you're a city kid." And all through our language, we have our own meaning for our own words. And so when a patient says, I have this kind of phobia, I really wonder, until they've told me enough about it, and often they haven't got a phobia. But the thing they say they have is an entirely different phobia. And my students knew that I was not pretending to be omniscient, and I had to go to San Francisco in a transit. I walk out on the bridge. I had to do that first. Now, you ride over bridges, walk on bridges, and she likes flying. You've written up in the newspaper. And the girl who first lived in the air. She took a vacation with her husband, flying to Australia, flying all around to see Australia. And he flies to Rome regularly, Europe, Boston, New York, Dallas, everywhere over the United States, into Canada, Mexico City. Your important task as a therapist is to know what your patient is talking about. And then treating the patient with hypnosis, try to parallel a patient's fear with something you don't fear. And draw your parallels. Because if a patient who's afraid of crossing a river can be induced to cross a riddle no wider than that, a riddle no wider than that, a brook no wider than that, a small creek, pretty soon they can cross the whole ocean. And people have to learn how many swimmers can swim only when they can touch bottom with their feet. I know a Girl Scout, a pain in the neck. She knew the sandbars in Lake Michigan. And she'd go out to the sandbar and then swim along the sandbar. And she kept the sandbars, or she would always lower her feet and have her head above water. A violent storm on the lake. And her mother was disgusted with his sister. Got up early in the morning, went out, and plunged in the lake, and touched the sandbar. A violent storm had shifted the sandbars into a new position. And they awakened the sister. Said, let's go out swimming. And she said cautiously, don't take me past my favorite sandbar. He said, I won't. And he took her to a place of her favorite sandbar, told her to jump in, and then he jumped in, giving the boat a powerful kick to go out of her reach. She was swimming all right. He said, look how deep the water is. And he sank down, 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 down. And he reached for the bottom of the sandbar. She went underwater, he couldn't find the sandbar. He quickly swam for the other sandbar. That too was gone. And her brother was swimming around with her, laughing at her, saying, "You said you could swim only when you could put your feet on the ground of the sandbar. I won't tell you where the nearest sandbar is. It's a hell of a long way to shore. Make it on your own." She did, in deep water. After that, she could swim anywhere.
Dr. Erickson, making the girl who was going up in the airplane give you that promise, is that somewhat the same as having Cinnamon Face getting angry at you for a false reason? Or you gave another example of like channeling the negative energy or the negative emotions.
We guarded the airplane as a very deadly threat. So I added to the thing another deadly threat. And it was an awfully threatening promise. I just paralleled the threat of a stranger having complete control over her life.
Dr. Erickson, I'd like to consult you on a case that she claims she's afraid of almost everything. And this is a 44-year-old woman. Her diagnosis medically is manic depressive. She has had cancer twice, lives with her third daughter, and she claims to be afraid of walking in the street, afraid of being left alone, afraid of staying alone in any situation, riding a bus, getting lost, and so on. There is an endless list of fears, including physical sickness, going to a doctor, etc. I'm seeing her with her daughter. The daughter is a 16-year-old kid. She's about to drop out of school. I have the impression that whenever the mother gets better, the daughter gets more depressed. She uses the daughter to accompany her to any place that she needs to go. She lives on Social Security and is afraid of losing that at any time. Afraid of moving.
In other words, he puts on a good act of being afraid of everything.
That's probably correct.
He puts on a good act of being afraid of being alone. The first thing I do with a patient like that, I lead them out and tell me all their fears of being alone. I make them insist that I believe everything they said. I had a good time getting them to convince me that they were afraid to be alone, that they were afraid of everything, just everything.
You would make her convince you.
I'd ask you, You're afraid of everything. Don't you ever get thirsty? Don't you ever get hungry? You say you're afraid of everything. And includes water, includes food.
It doesn't include cigarettes since she smokes heavily.
And includes air.
Uh-huh.
And does your daughter always go to the bathroom with you? Then make her discover, one by one, the times she liked to be alone, and the things that she didn't like and was not afraid of.
Okay.
I put her in a position of knowing she had exaggerated and misinformed me. And she's going to start checking everything she says. And she's going to start doubting the all-inclusiveness of her fears. And when she starts doubting those, then you can give her faith in this, in that, until she knows that she likes to be alone at times. And she does like the scenery. She does like the sunlight. She does like quiet at night when she wants to sleep. She does like sleep. She does like hunger. She does like go to the bathroom. And you reverse her complete negativism by adulterating it with a great many positive things. And there are so many positive things. She may dislike the color of her eyes, but she likes her eyes.
She likes to have eyes.
Hmm?
She likes to have eyes.
And she likes to have two legs.
Yeah. She happens to also threaten to go crazy or commit suicide if the daughter would leave her. For instance, if the daughter would go camping for a couple of days. So the daughter is under a very strong guilt about everything she does.
And I would have her bring her daughter to me and send the daughter out in the next room. Tell her mother, you're now alone. Your daughter is here. And here's a knife. Do you want to commit suicide? I can send your daughter into a further room. You want to commit suicide? Just call her on all of her exaggerated statements until she begins to examine the statement she's about to make, and she'll get cautious and self-critical and start passing judgment.
Start passing what?
Judgment on the validity of her statements. And you can start, now you know you won't commit suicide, your daughter next room, or the room beyond that. You know you won't commit suicide, and in the first minute your daughter leaves you alone. Or the second minute, or the third minute. If your daughter leaves you alone for 10 minutes, you'll be waiting for her to come back. You'll be waiting after 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a day, 2 days, a week. Then you stretch it out.
How about her threat of making herself crazy and hallucinate and lose contact with reality?
I tell patients, and psychiatrically it's true, some people can be neurotic. Some people can be politicians. Some people can be priests. Some can be nuns. I know I couldn't be a priest. I know I couldn't be a lawyer. I know I couldn't be a farmer. I couldn't be a champion skater. We all have our own peculiar mental structure. And there are some people who get neurotic, and only neurotic. He is neurotic, painfully neurotic, but they can't go crazy because their structure, their mental structure, bends it. And you have to have a certain mental structure to go crazy. Now, do you think you can go crazy? I agree you can. You'll have to wait until your arteries harden in your brain. And that's a long wait. You know that you can't make a people-minded child into an intellectual giant. He hasn't got the mental structure. Anybody pick up a paintbrush and dip it into oil paint, that doesn't make him a painter. He hasn't got the right structure mentally to become a great painter. Yeah, that's the way it is in life. There are some beautiful women. I could never in the world become mothers. There are some men who could never become fathers because their personality is such that they can't deal with children. Some men who want a family can't stand the children till they're at least 10 years old. Then he can be a good father. Up to 10 years, he doesn't want anything to do with the brat. Some mothers enjoy having a child like your baby. He doesn't want to give up her daughter. Her daughter's getting older and older. And she's trying to hang on.
2 already left and are married. This is the last one.
And he's going to keep her baby. Despite the passage of years, no matter how neurotic she becomes. And neurosis is a way of hanging on to things you have no right. And I will certainly teach the girl, live your own life at your own age. You can't live your mother's life. You're not old enough. Take you a long time. Your mother can't live your life because you're too old.
And she wants to.
That you want to.
You look upon all neurosis like that, Dr. Erickson?
What's that?
All neurosis as some form of hanging on to something you have no right to hang on to?
Yeah.
All neurosis like that?
And many people can be extremely neurotic, but not psychotic. And some psychotics can only develop psychosis. And some feeble-minded and children can become great mathematicians. Feeble-minded in other regards, idiot savant. I met one. It'd be hard work for him to find his way across the street. Now you ask him, what's the cube root of 6 million 489,231? He'd tell you right then. And Railroad Jack at the University of Wisconsin made his living in summers going to libraries and reading history and dates. And come to the University of Wisconsin and the wagon he lived in, and he challenged students asking for any historical date. What day of the week was it when Charlemagne was born? You think that'd be a very hard question to answer? Randall Jack would come up with the answer. And so go to the library and find out. Because he was right, they owed him 25 cents. And he made a very competent living. I know all the dates in history. All but Abraham Lincoln, the first time he split a rail. Well, we know that Abraham Lincoln was a rail splitter. One of the days he split the first rail. Railroad Jack knew. Students at Wisconsin would gang up on him and try to figure out some question. And Railroad Jack always answered their questions correctly. And he didn't know you can go to the library and see if that isn't right. He made a good living.
I'm wondering how we got the name Railroad.
I never asked him that question. I was afraid to ask him. I didn't have enough money to give away 25 cents.
When you were speaking about fear, I have a client that is afraid of taking a job because he's afraid that he'll lose it. And he has a long history of that. He's a graduate of Harvard Business School, and he got his first job after that. That was a highly paid job in New York City for a commercial bank, and he lost that job. Then he got another job that a colleague, a classmate of his, hired him for in New York City, and the day he got the job, his wife left him. And about 6 months later, his friend told him to leave the company because he was a problem for the company. And he came here, he got another job for another big corporation, making a lot of money. He lasted there for about 6 or 7 months as head of the finance department, and the boss fired him from that job. Now, he hasn't worked for about 2.5 years, and he just got another job last week. He's going to start it 2 weeks from now. Again, it's a high-paying job, and he's the director of finances for this corporation, and he's afraid that they're going to, in his words, they're going to get rid of him and toss him aside like all the others have done in the past.
Now that's the excuse. And I would tell a patient, you can get a job and you can hold it for a lifetime. The pay is very small. I have to live economically. It's a backbreaking job. And then offer him a job. Count grains of sand on a beach and give him barely enough food. And soon say, I don't want that kind of a job. And he can tell you what kind of a job he did want. I put money in escrow and pay a man for doing a certain job. So he knew his money was safe, legally his, and paid out to him at regular intervals as long as he kept that job. I made the job something you want to graduate from right away. You turn the scales over for them. And don't believe what patients tell you. And try to restate it in such a fashion that it'll turn over. And patient says doesn't want to be alone at any time. He does want to be alone in the bathroom. He does want to be alone in the bathtub. And you call a lie very quickly, and they'll recognize it. And don't like anything in this world, or I like your watch. Well, I like my watch. I thought you said there was nothing in the world you like. Give me your shoes. And you quickly make a patient realize, what am I being so exaggerated about? Now, I don't think any of you have been here before. I heard the story of Jimmy, the Naval Academy student. Have you? You heard a story to tell in organized fashion. And Jimmy was a graduate of the Naval Academy during World War II. On graduation, he commissioned second lieutenant, given orders to report in 30 days to a certain destroyer. Go on board. And Jimmy got his orders. He had 30 days vacation due him. He went to Dr. Braceland, the head of psychiatry for the Navy. He explained to Braceland why he couldn't go aboard a destroyer or a warship. He explained why he had to have a land-based disc job. And Bryson listened sympathetically as Jimmy explained why he had to have. And Bryson replied, I understand your problem, but you're in the Navy now. The Navy has given you your orders, and I can't countermand your orders. You have to obey them. You're in the Navy now. The only help I can give you is to order a court-martial. And the court-martial will convict you and send you to Walter Reed Hospital or treatment. That'll make your trouble all the worse. Walter Reed Hospital will transfer you to St. Elizabeth's Hospital. And there, you just plain go psychotic or commit suicide. There'll be no hope or help for you in St. Elizabeth. You'll be a prisoner there for life. And considering your problem, you will undoubtedly commit suicide. There'll be no other way for you. So I advise you to go to Johns Hopkins University and see if you can get some private help. Johns Hopkins saw him, took a history, and then said, we can help you. Maybe a man in Michigan, Erickson by name, can help you. When Jimmy called up his father, gave his father a bare outline of the problem. Father called me, asked for me to treat his son for a bashful bladder. In other words, Jimmy couldn't urinate in the presence of anybody else. He had to have absolute privacy. Father called me and I said, I'll be in Philadelphia next week. And would you come down from Syracuse, New York to Philadelphia and give me the entire story? And his father showed up in my hotel room. Now here's a digression. Father came in. I recognized that at most he was 5 feet tall. And that he carried himself in an aggressive fashion. And about the first thing the father told him, 5 feet tall, had a hell of a job of stretching myself to get into the Army for the First World War. And then I had to eat a lot of bananas, drink a lot of milk, meet the weight requirement. I served throughout the World War I, and the goddamn Army kept me a buck private. I didn't have the sense to be an officer. I had all the qualifications necessary to be an officer. I got discharged from the Army. I made up my mind that if I ever married and became a father of a boy, that boy would grow up and be a military officer. Since the Army didn't treat me right, my first choice was the Navy. I couldn't get my boy in the Naval Academy. I get him into West Point. See, I'm a real estate man. I sell real estate. I'm very good at it. I like to sell real estate. I like to put my clients over the barrel and roll every last cent out of them. And I'm very good at it. Good sales, and I can extract the last cent my client had. By the way, streets get good money. Why don't you have a decent hotel room? I said, tell me more about Jimmy. He said, well, Jimmy, and he tell me all right. Now, what kind of cheapskate are you? Why don't you use your own paper? It says a hotel paper. And your own pen. It says a hotel pen. Taking notes. I said, tell me more about Jimmy. Jimmy's always been a pain in the neck. Some way when he was in grade school. He got the idea in his head he couldn't urinate in the presence of others. He's a pain in the neck. That's not suit of clothes you have on. Can't you afford better clothes, or are you just a cheapskate? I said, what about Jimmy? Oh, we sent Jimmy to summer camp with the other boys. Learned recently from Jimmy. He waited until sometime after midnight and he run away from the camp to find privacy, to relieve himself. And bit by bit, the story came out. Jimmy rented a hotel room in high school so he could have privacy and urination. And when Jimmy came home on vacation, father and mother, he was an only child, and stopped at the gas station. It was a public comfort station. And Jimmy had to drive into town and rent a hotel room, pay a day's charge, just to empty his bladder. And his father thought that pure damn foolishness on Jimmy's part. And then he said, it's getting pretty close to noon. No cheap clothes you're wearing, cheap shoes. I suppose I'd better buy you a dinner at the hotel dining room. You think you can haul that awkward carcass of yours to the elevator and we ride down to the dining room floor? I told him I thought I could haul my carcass. It was charming to see how many insults he could offer me. When he got to the dining room, he said, this hotel serves lousy food. I know a good restaurant in the middle of the next block. You're thinking all that gimpy carcass of yours down to that restaurant, out knocking over some little kid or some old lady or some old man. It must be hell to be as awkward as you are. I thought I could haul my carcass without hurting anybody. It turned out the restaurant you want was not that block. In fact, it was 12 blocks away. And he insulted me for my awkwardness. I said, you know, my poor clothes, my poor taste. That man was the best reservoir of insults. We got to the proper restaurant. He said, we could eat on the ground floor. I prefer the balcony. Well, I have to help drag your carcass up the stairway. Balcony. I heard him. I could haul my carcass without help. Got to the balcony. He picked out a table, which was a bit slow in coming. He said, on one side of the table, I on the other. He told me, this restaurant serves prime food, the best in the East Coast, except they serve half-rotten fish. And their mashed potatoes are underdone and watery. And they make the iced tea out of river water. And it's a tragedy to have to eat their fish and mashed potatoes, drink their iced tea. A waitress came with a menu. He waved her to me. I placed an order for roast prime rib of beef, baked potato, sour cream chives, hot coffee, forgotten what else. And he went over and presented him with a menu. And my host said, cancel that order. Bring him fish, mashed potatoes, iced tea. I just looked over at me, my face was blank. And after a while, she came bearing 2 trays, looking from one to the other of us. And he got near the table. I said, give me what I ordered and give the fish to the gentleman that ordered it. He put down the trays hurriedly and scuttled away. And this looks at me and said, that's the first time anybody ever did that to me. So I told him quietly, that's always the first time for everything. And he ate his rotten fish, his baked mashed potatoes. I enjoyed my meal. At the end of the meal, he said, you have the stuff you want to eat. You pay for the dinner. I said, you invited me. I accepted your invitation. That makes you the host. You will pay for it. He looked at me in disgust and took out a Texas wallet. In case you don't know what a Texas wallet is, Texans who can afford it. You can have $1,000 bill, a couple $500 bills, some $100 bills, $50 bills, $20 bills, $10 bills, $5 bills, and for a change, they have it loose in their pocket. He hauled out his Texas wallet, opened it. I looked it over carefully. And he peeled off the exact number of bills required in his pocket, got out the exact change. He said, at least you can pay the tip. I said, the host pays the tip. So he left a nickel. And didn't see me slip a decent tip on the table. And he wanted to know if he'd have to haul my carcass down the stairway. And all 12 blocks back, he told me to avoid knocking that woman down. Told me to avoid stumbling over that child, that old man. He was very, very critical of everything. He didn't like my haircut. Like my mustache. He just didn't like anything about me. We went to the room. I took some Morris and Jimmy. And then details that he could give. You want to know something wrong with my memory? I had to write it on paper. I couldn't, I remember. He could. And then I was probably incompetent. Finally, I dismissed him, told him to have Jimmy see me. I was in Michigan at 6 p.m. on Monday. So I prepared for Jimmy's visit. I had a medical suit, all medical suits that passed the examination. were in the Army. Army was paying their way through medical school. That meant they would have to serve in the Army even after the war, the paid war. He sent to medical school. I had a 6'6" medical student in uniform, and I had a professor of art, University of Michigan. And Jimmy looked in my office, hallway, and said, "You're a big shot who's going to cure me." I said, "I'm the psychiatrist going to do therapy with you. Come in, shut the door." And Jimmy saw a medical student standing there. He said, "What's that long drink of nothing doing here?" I said, "He's a medical student. He's going to assist me." "What kind of shrink are you that you depend on a medical student?" I said, "A very competent one." And he noticed the art professor. He said, "What's that boat there with the creek duster?" I said, "The gentleman with the mustache is the professor of art at the University of Michigan. He too is going to assist me in therapy." "Well, what kind of a psychiatrist are you that you depend on an art professor and medical student?" I said, "You find me very competent. Close the door and sit down." And Jimmy, with a hostile look at the medical student and the art professor and me, closed the door and sat down. I turned to the medical student and said, "Jerry, go into a trance." And Jerry was an excellent subject. He could do anything that you asked of him. I put Jerry through all his paces, including automatic writing, hallucinating, drawing, and recalling infantile experiences. And while Jerry is still in trance, I put the professor in a trance, told the professor, "You're in deep trance, and only Jimmy and I are here." And there's nothing else. And then I awakened Jerry. Jerry didn't know the professor was in a trance. The professor and I were talking to Jimmy, to each other, and Jerry tried to butt in, only find the professor asking a question at the same time. I answered the professor, and Jimmy was curious. He asked the professor something. Exactly the moment when Jerry tried to speak to me. And Jerry didn't hear. No, that Jimmy and I and the professor were in contact, but he knew the professor wasn't there. And the professor knew that Jerry wasn't there. And Jerry awakened post-hypnotic amnesia for the professor. A very confusing thing. And all of a sudden, Jerry said, "Dr. Buddage is here." I said, "Yes, only you can't see him. It's all right to see him now." I told the professor to act as if you were wide awake. And he seemed to be wide awake to Jimmy. I use a professor to demonstrate a lot of hypnotic phenomena. Spent the whole evening displaying hypnotic phenomena. I play around with the minds. And then I dismissed Jimmy to go to Detroit to the hotel where he was staying. Next night, the professor was there, but Jerry was. So I put Jimmy in trance. And I gave him post-hypnotic suggestion. After you awaken, you absentmindedly pick up a pencil from the table beside it, and you draw a picture on that pad of paper. And while Jerry and Jimmy and I were talking about Michigan and the war, Jimmy's hand absentmindedly wanted to draw a picture of pencil. He drew a picture of a man on the paper, a round circle for the head, straight line for the neck and body, a line for the arms, legs, and circles for the hands and feet. An extremely childish picture. And then he printed under it the word father. Jerry and I were busy conversing, watching Jimmy out of our peripheral vision, and Jimmy absentmindedly tore off a sheet, folded again, and then slipped into his blouse pocket. And after Jerry and I resumed conversation, included Jimmy, we want to know about the academy and things. And Jimmy had a lot to tell us. At the academy, he had to make a table of various laboratories in the academy and times when he could find them vacant. There were 3 laboratories in particular. One was likely to be free of anybody entering at 1 o'clock in the morning. The other would not be likely to be entered by anybody at 2 a.m. The third at 3 a.m. And he couldn't use his dormitory laboratory. He had to elude detection. The Naval Academy checks up on the dormitory regularly. And he would sneak off to one of those laboratories. And number 1 was occupied. He had to wait until 2 o'clock for number 2. He might then have to wait until number 3. Number 3 having occupied, and go back to number 1. I lost a lot of sleep and did a lot of worrying for fear of the nightly checkup and discover he was missing, and that would be bad. All through the academy, Jimmy and urination were one awful problem. And there was another terrible problem. Our public relationships, cadets are required to accept invitation to private families for the weekend. And a cadet would be out Friday evening. And Jimmy's in, and the hostess, the best contention. They are at you all the time, coffee, tea, milk, or Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola, or wine, and kept you drinking. And you had no place to go because you're in strange territory. And the next day is more coffee, tea, or milk, or Pepsi-Cola, or cola, or something else. paid or something. I fed you very nicely. You just had to hold back. And your stomach get larger and larger as it filled, your bladder filled with urine all day Sunday. And when you returned to the academy, you had to wait until 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to relieve yourself. And the weekends were just plain hell. And you can imagine how peaceful they were. And Jimmy wanted to get through the academy. That had been drilled into him, his early childhood. And then, of course, when he graduated, he was commissioned second lieutenant, assigned to a destroyer. There would be no privacy of any kind in the laboratory for officers or for enlisted able-bodied seamen. No privacy on board a destroyer or any kind of ship. And so Jimmy hoped to get a land job where he could make for his own privacy. And Dr. Bryson knew he couldn't change orders. The court martial would find Jimmy physically unable to send Walter Reed Hospital for a physical checkup. And there would be all the nurses, doctors, interns, and other patients. There'd be no privacy. And when he got worse there, they sent him to Walter Reed Hospital. Or mentally ill. And there you have still less privacy. So, as I got all in detail, and Jimmy said it started when he was in grade school, he didn't know how or why. And I tested it by having Jerry go to the laboratory repeatedly. I went repeatedly, but Jimmy couldn't go with either of us. And to the strange laboratory, he didn't dare to enter it. There might be somebody. And he explained, if you were in the laboratory, you even heard steps or sound of someone else coming down the corridor. You hear a thunderclap in his head. It just filled his head, and he'd breathe. And it might be an hour before he could move. And that was awful. And sometimes he'd been caught by a fellow cadet and froze for an hour. And thus his late to his classes got marks against him. We had to be safe. So, and we were talking on Thursday. I was just getting information, getting acquainted with Jimmy's personality. Jimmy sitting out the window, says it's raining out there. And I had a drop of water running down the window pane. Wasn't a cloud in the sky, no water. I knew a symbolic remark when I heard it. And I knew I couldn't analyze it then. I only sure it wasn't raining. Water running down the window pane. And, oh yes. After Tuesday, when you'd drawn the picture on Wednesday, as they entered the office, he flushed. I said, how did you sleep last night, Jimmy? He said, fine. Anything unusual happened? He said, nothing at all, and flushed again. I said, Jimmy, you're blushing. I only asked you, you slept all right? If anything happened, you blushed, and you blushed when you came in the office. There has to be some reason for that. Tell it to me. And he said, nothing happened at all. I just went to bed, went to sleep, and he blushed some more. And Jimmy, that's not the truth. I want to know exactly what happened. And he said, well, when I undressed to go to bed, I found a wad of paper in my pocket. I know I didn't put it there. I threw it away. He blushed again. He said, Jimmy, you're blushing. So I know you didn't throw it in the wastebasket. Now tell me what you did with it. And do I have to? I said, you certainly do. So he told me. I unfolded it. On one side, I found a very childish picture of a man. He described the picture accurately and said, and the word father was printed on it. I looked at it and I wondered how he got in my pocket and threw it in the wastebasket. And blushed again. And Jimmy, that isn't the truth. You're blushing again. How did you do that paper? And all right. I put it in the commode, the picture side up, and I urinated on it. I flushed it down the toilet. Another symbolic act. And when I'd heard that symbolic, I'd caution Jerry. If I see anything out of the way, unexpected, not in keeping with the situation, you follow it up. And after Thursday, when he asked about rain, I said, Jerry, what are you going to do this weekend? Jerry said, I think I'll take the weekend off and go up to northern Michigan and canoe down the Osable River. I've done it before. It's fun running those rapids in a canoe. And I turned to Jim and said, well, since Jerry isn't going to be here this weekend, what would you like to do? And Jimmy said, I'd like to go back to Syracuse and visit my mother. I said, well, what would you do in visiting your mother? He said, I'll mow the lawn if it doesn't rain. And that's a very peculiar statement to me. I said, that's fine. I'd come in next Monday. I telephoned his father, told him what train to catch, and he comes to Detroit. I didn't want Jimmy to meet him, so I saw they passed each other in different trains. Father came out. This is a no-account office. Somebody who considered himself a big freak. I said, it's my office, come in. He looks around, there was Jerry, our professor, and my secretary. And I said, what's that gray-haired bitch doing here? I said, the lady's my secretary. You take down in shorthand everything you say, I say, or what anybody else says. Or do we have to have an old gray-haired bitch in here? I said she's working overtime. She's in connection with your son's case. So we have to have her here. And so, Jerry, what's that long drawn-out string of nothing doing here? I said, this Jerry, he's a medical student. He's helping you work with your son. What hell kind of strength are you that you depend on a medical student? And why do you have to have an old gray-haired bitch for a secretary? I said, a secretary, young woman, she's prematurely gray, which is none of your business. And Jerry is a very competent and brilliant medical student. And I'm in charge of the case, so he's in on the case with me. He said, who's that bozo over there with a soup stainer? And that gentleman with a mustache, Professor Art, University of Michigan. What the hell's he doing here? Aren't medical consultations confidential? I said, they are. And I've got plenty of help to keep the consultation confidential. He said, all right, now what next? I said, our secretary's working overtime on behalf of your son. He needs to be paid. He said, why should I pay her? You're a secretary. I said, he's working overtime in your son's case, and you are going to pay her. You know, all right. Hold on his Texas wallet and said, how about $1? I said, don't be ridiculous. You mean to say I've got to pay her more than $1? I said, you certainly do. He said, all right, how about $5? I said, I told you before not to be ridiculous. And you mean I got to pay her $10? I said, you're being ridiculous, but you are approaching the figure. He said, $15? I said, let's cut out the nonsense. You owe her $30. So he took it 6 for, you know, 5, a 10, 20, and some dollar bills, handed to her. You wrote her a receipt. Thank you. Bid him good night and left. He said, what are these two bums hanging around for? I said, they too are working with me and your son, and I expect you to pay them. You expect me to pay them? You hired them, did you? I said, that's right, and you're going to pay them. Well, I think I can take lessons from you in rolling clients over the barrel for such money. All right, I'll give them $30. I said, don't be ridiculous. You pay them each $75. He said, now I know I can take lessons from you and extract you money. I said, the worst is yet to come. I paid them $75 a piece. We wrote a receipt. Thank you. Bid him good night and left. I said, oh, now you want to be paid. I suppose you want $100. I said, don't be ridiculous. $500? I said, don't talk like an idiot. I paid $1,500 cash. And I want it now. He said, I am convinced you can teach me how to extract money from a stone even. All right. Peeled off three $500 bills. Hand them to me. I wrote out a receipt, thanked him. And he said, anything else? I said, yes, we're only halfway done. You bragged to me that you like to roll people on a barrel, get every last cent. You also told me you like to drink beer. And that on Saturdays and Sundays you didn't work. You just drank beer and got drunk. You told me that your wife, a sniveling woman who attended church every Sunday, was staying home like a good wife, getting drunk on beer. And your wife and Jimmy have both protested your consumption of beer. We've got that matter to settle. He said, you're pretty comprehensive, aren't you? I said, I try to be. And now write a pay-on-demand note of $1,000. And the first time you get drunk, I had the privilege of cashing that check, that note. And in addition, I've got this to say to you. I'm not asking you to stop drinking beer. You can have 4 glasses of beer a day. That's all. He said, oh, I don't mind that. I said, that's what you say. I said 4 glasses. And I meant 4 8-ounce glasses. Not the gallon or 2 jugs that you would convert into glasses. He said, so you thought of that too? I said, I'll try to be comprehensive thinking. He gave me the pay on demand, a note for $1,000. And I told him he could then leave in a certain hour. I knew he'd pass Jimmy on the way to Syracuse. I didn't want them to meet. And Jerry was there next Monday, and Jimmy walked in, blushing very deeply. And I asked Jerry how he enjoyed canoeing down the Osaba River. He gave an enthusiastic account. And a few more questions that I myself knew the Osaba River. And turned to Jimmy. And how did you enjoy your visit with Mother? And I really enjoyed it. My father wasn't at home, on a trip somewhere. And yes, I know. Now, what did you do when you went home? He said, I mowed the lawn. It didn't rain. He blushed very deeply. I said, Jimmy, the other day, I raised a question of rain and water running down the window pane. And then last Friday, you said you'd like to go home and visit your mother and mow the lawn if it didn't rain. You visited your mother in your father's absence and you tell me you mowed the lawn and it didn't rain. Oh, Jimmy, tell me all the rest of the story. And I mean all the rest. Jimmy flushed very deeply and said, we have a garage. His face is really opposite on the other side of the street. All in front of the garage is a door that slides out. And neighbors across the street can look in the garage, see everything that happens. I mowed the lawn, it didn't rain. I put the mower back in the garage, which usually kept. A fairly new mower. I got an embarrassing impulse. I urinated on the mower. All right. The rest of the memory. He said, I remember. And when I was a little kid, out in the garage, I saw a new mower there. I was just a little kid. So I peed on it. The door was open. I didn't hear Mama come in the garage. She saw what I was doing. She boxed my ears. Just like hearing a thunderclap. And she put her hand over my mouth and dragged me in the house. And she lectured me thoroughly. I promptly forgot about that thing. All I knew is that thereafter, when I wanted to urinate, I had to wait until my father had gone to the office and Mother was busy in the kitchen. I'd go to the third floor of the house. I'd urinate in the sink. So there'd be no noise at all. And then when I went to camp, I had to have privacy. And I had to have privacy ever since. Now, Tim was in uniform, Jerry was in uniform. I asked Jerry to coach me on proper language. I said, attention men, close ranks, about face, march, hold, left face, march, halt, take a deep drink at the water fountain, and march again to the lavatory and take a good piss. About face, march. Return to the office, halt at the water fountain, take a good deep drink, march into the office. At ease, gentlemen. Take a seat, be comfortable. I died his infantile prohibition with his military experience, and he obeyed orders. You ever talk long? And Jimmy told me how much he loved his mother, how much he liked his father in a curious way. He knew his father meant well. He knew his father loved his mother, had an unkind way in dealing with her. His mother belonged to the World's Christian Union, Temperance Union, dead against alcohol, which I already knew. I explained to Jimmy how I charged his father on my secretary and for Jerry and our professor. and made his father pay his fee. And then I pay on demand note. My father left Jaws, left Detroit with Syracuse in accordance with my orders. He missed seeing Jimmy. This was in July. Jimmy had 2 weeks still left for vacation. And in January, New Year's Day, father called me from New York City and said, I'm drunker than a hoot owl. Cash that goddamn pay on demand note. I said, Mr. When you gave me that note, I told you I had the privilege of cashing it. First time he got drunk. Well, I don't care to exercise that privilege just yet. And he said, God damn your lousy hide. Shortly thereafter, he began going to church with his wife. Within a few months, he'd sworn off beer entirely. He stopped rolling his customers for every cent they had. He was warm, agreeable, and a good member of society. After the war, Jimmy joined, during the war, Jimmy was assigned from the destroyer to a warship. And Jimmy was on board the warship on which Japan surrendered. Jimmy was there watching the ceremony. After the war, Jimmy joined the Naval Air Force, and some years later was killed in an air crash. 25 years later, I'm returning from a lecture trip to the east, and because of a blizzard, I was grounded in Syracuse and got to the hotel at 9 o'clock. I knew the first failed plane would be at next morning at 4 o'clock. I called him and greeted me cordially and Mrs. Church, wouldn't I please spend the night with them? I explained how my early airport time was inconvenient and had a long, pleasant chat. He asked me, whatever did become of that pay on demand note? I said, I explained it. Jimmy gave it to him, told him hold it for a while, and then at his own convenience to burn it. You were sent Jimmy's effects after Jimmy was killed. You didn't find the note, how it was burned. I missed it back from church. She called my hotel. Had a very pleasant chat. Her husband had become a church-going citizen, a teetotaler, and interested in the community services. There I did therapy involving 3 people and the community. I saw Jimmy. I did see the father in a most unpleasant way.
Are you in a trance now, Dr. Erickson? Are you in a trance now?
Oh, I have been repeatedly in and out.
During the story?
Once you use hypnosis extensively, and get so used to it that you can go into a trance and it takes somebody with experience to detect that you're in a trance. And my patients don't realize it, and they respond with that altered tempo, and altered breathing, and altered movement, and begin to copy it. And my youngest daughter, less than a year old, unless she was still sitting in her bouncy chair, playing with her blocks on the tray, sitting in the little dining room. I was sitting on a couch behind her, looking at her, watching her play. And then I thought, here's a nice experimental situation. I watched her shoulder movements as she breathed, and then I purposely started breathing in the same rhythm. All of a sudden, she turned around and said, "Top that, Daddy." She had noticed I was breathing the same rate she was. Now, a little girl under 1 year of age can notice it. Adults who are used to overlooking everything consciously, they too can notice it, only they overlook the noticing of it.
I'd like to ask you a question about treatment of people that are not so motivated to get well or to, for instance, people that have been through therapy before and are disappointed about it and don't have hope.
I had patients who've been in psychoanalytic therapy 5 times a week for 5 years and tried other therapists for varying periods of time. They come to me and tell me about all our failures, all our endeavor. And I say, your long concept is therapy, and your failure to achieve therapy. You had enough time to achieve it. I wonder about your sincerity. You may consciously sincere, unconsciously, and you don't really know what your unconscious mind is doing or thinking. That's why it's unconscious behavior. And maybe your unconscious knows that you're not really sincere. You just believe you're sincere. So I'll give you a chance to prove your sincerity. One woman called me and said, "I'm 52 years old. I can get as much pay as my husband. He's a university professor. I work at a mental health clinic, and my salary is as large as my husband's. My daughter is 20 years old. My son is 19 years old. And I smoke too much. And will you give me help? Because I can't seem to quit smoking. I've tried a lot of other therapists. It's been a failure." I said, "Madam, or your aide calls me. Tells me she wants to have help quitting smoking. A lot of such people are insincere. And I would want to test your sincerity. Who climbs Squaw Peak every month for a week at sunrise. She called me on Saturday. And the next Saturday, he could climb Squaw Peak every morning at sunrise. Come in and see me. He came in and said, after I climbed Squaw Peak once, I determined to include that in my daily life. Oh, I've enjoyed climbing Squaw Peak at sunrise every morning for a whole week, and I'm going to keep right on. I said, all right. So far you expressed your sincerity of needing help quitting smoking. Now there's a second test. Open your handbag and show me how many packages of cigarettes you have there. He blushed, took a package and a half and put them on my desk. I laid them there on my desk for 3 weeks. You can reclaim them anytime you want to. And after 3 weeks, I'll throw them in my compost heap. He took out the cigarettes, put them on the desk, closed the handbag. And there's still one more. Test your sincerity. Open your handbag again. How about your cigarette lighter and matches? He said, I haven't got a lighter, but I have matches. He hauled them out, put them on the desk. And he said, should I go home and get the rest of my cigarettes and matches? I said, that's entirely your own idea. It sounds like a good idea to me. Now she laughed. It turned quite some time later with a little over a carton of cigarettes, a lot of matches, put them on my desk. And I said to her, your hour has expired. You want to pay me by cash or check? You pay me by check. I like to do that with patients. Demand payment at the end of each hour paid by cash or check. That way I prevent them from building up a great big bill to worry about. And they pay promptly. And they go home knowing that they have paid for something. Darn well better get something out of them, spending all that money. The next Saturday, she came in. And then said, last night, I asked my husband to type a letter to me, for me. He's published a book, and he's an excellent typist. And I can't typewrite at all. I asked him to type a short letter for me. He said, it's late, it's bedtime, I'm going to bed. He undressed, got down, got into bed. And told him, listen, I want that letter tonight. He said, at your age, I'm going to sleep, turned over. That made me mad. I grabbed the covers, hauled them back, and said, I want that letter tonight. And I'll type it for you in the morning. And the covers up, a little over on the side, shut his eyes. That really angered me. I grabbed the covers and hauled them down, grabbed him by the ankles and hauled him out of bed and said, I want that letter typed tonight. he went in to study. He typed it, handed me the letter, and went back to bed. I read the letter. Then I told him, it's not humanly possible to make that number of errors in such a short letter unless you do it intentionally. And get out of bed, I want a perfectly typed letter. He said, it's bedtime and I'm going to sleep. I grabbed the cover and yanked him down. And he hopped out of bed, went and study, slammed the door behind him. So I opened the study door and said, so you passed a new law. And doors can be slammed in the house. All right, you slammed it the first time, I'll slam it the second time. And while he came out, a letter, perfect letter for me. Not a single mistake in it. He went to bed, I read the letter, it was exactly what I wanted. I went to bed. And there's another thing. My husband considers himself a scholar. He likes quiet in the house. Our two children have always had to go to a neighbor to play. And he couldn't stand the noise they made. And they grew up, they always had to go to a friend's house to play their record. And you just simply couldn't slam a door. You couldn't endure that. And so we've all lived on our tiptoes. And another thing, before we were married, my husband explained to me that he liked gourmet cooking. And he insisted on my learning gourmet cooking. And he promised me before marriage that he would take turns every other week doing gourmet cooking. When the children were small, of course, I'd take care of them and fix their breakfast, send them off to school. After they got old enough, I had breakfast at a restaurant on the way to school. I had lunch at a restaurant. And the family only has evening meals at home. And I cook them. His turn to cook for a week has not yet come up. And I cook gourmet meal for him every night of the week. And he has never volunteered to do anything. And I hinted more than once. He ignores me. He is, you might say, the master of the house. I don't like it. I think he should help me cook. Aren't as much on it as he does. And well, I think this is Saturday. As you can spend Sunday preparing the evening meal, gourmet style, as has been your habit. And break the news come gently. And next week, beginning Monday, he'll do the cooking. He said, that won't do any good.